Well, continue with the second delivery of the subject that has brought us to this debate, and that we have catalogued as "Take heed that no one deceives you." We would like to take the opportunity to clarify some concepts. Beforehand, we know that our teachings, or the teachings, better to say, because they are not ours, the teachings that we share, for the vast majority, a 99%, will not be pleasant, possibly because they will be contaminated, corroded, or corrupted by the pagan Babylonian Roman religions, or the Babylonian evangelicals, and all the bifurcation that has been given throughout the time. But that will be like another history, like another theme of discussion. But it's not what we are interested in this moment to bring to this study. A thing that is necessary to understand, if that is the expression that can be used, and say that it is necessary to understand because regretfully most people suffer from a fanaticism, and there are some that have even radicalized themselves, theme which is fashionable nowadays, and as the same Jesus the Messiah clearly expressed in one of his phrases, which we consider most extraordinary dictated here on earth, and that is one of the mottos that the last church tries to proclaim, express, give notice, and is "Take heed that no one deceives you." We know beforehand that a series of religious worlds will be disturbed. One of them, we already expressed it, are the Babylonian Romans. Others, well, the Babylonian evangelicals that came from these large branches in which the Catholicism separated. And we understand that for them also it will cause great distortion and anger. And without leaving behind also the Jews, and also within their branches, because the Roman Babylonians have countless of branches, and the Jews have also countless of religious branches. Our idea is not to enter in confrontation with them. We are not interested. It doesn't call our attention. Neither are we interested in wanting to call or attract the attention of anybody. We are not interested in the fame, in the vainglory. We are not interested in any of that. We know that we are only passing, and that sooner or later we will cease to exist, as everybody that comes to this earth and that passes through this process, with its exceptions. But what most interests us is the proclamation of the good news. Obviously, not the good news that most people have been sold. We are not interested in the in-between quotation marks Roman Babylonian good news. We are not interested in any way they live their world and that it's their life, and have done and undone throughout the times with the religious deceit. We are not interested. Neither are we interested in the Babylonian evangelical. They have had also time in that, and you have seen already how they have been splitting, and continue to split, and do not end splitting. Neither are we interested in the Jewish, nor we want to make strange mixtures as the one that lately has been given, the Messianic Jewish, or the famous Messianics. We are not interested. We are not after that. Our only objective is to proclaim the good news, to say the message that should have been told and was not said, and express the doctrine, not ours, not the doctrine of the last church, but the doctrine of Jesus the Messiah, because he gave his doctrine, that henceforth what others have done and undone, well, that is another study, that someday maybe we can address, discuss it, advance it, teach it, show it, but not today. Today we are interested in addressing a little bit a book that calls itself the Genesis, the beginning, and that we in a particular way call the chaos, the book of chaos, because in this book a chaos was made, and things were confused and things were distorted to an incredible level. Obviously, we will not address all the book because we wouldn't know when we will finish, and that is not the idea. For the last church, the most important thing is that people by themselves investigate, search, reflect, analyze, and question things, because everywhere the questioning is valid. and with much more reason when the principle, the fundament, the base, the column, take heed that no one deceives you, is given. For us, that is fundamental. Being said this brief introduction, we would like to extend it more, but time won't be enough to achieve what we want to obtain. For the one who has a version of the scriptures must have as a fundamental principle, and that is taught by all archaeological schools, believe that even the Bible Society said so. They had many years ago believed that in the decade of the 80s or the 90s, they had even seminars, and within those seminars that they gave, as it has been said all these times, they had expressed, have said, it was said by archaeologists, exegetes, translators, linguists, that this book, this text, Genesis, arrived in some part by a principle that all these technicians, the ones that understand, that know, that we must learn as the oral tradition. In other words, the text was formed by the oral tradition, what generations told one to another, in relation to certain events or events. In that, want this to be very clear and that it stays in your brain, the oral tradition, far different from pretending to be a revelation, right? In that one, this to be clear, will not enter this theme because this is not the sense of this delivery, but to be moving forward little by little. Obviously, we will try to grab some time to explain a series of things that in my aim will shake people's world, but must be shaken. Believe that to be correct thing to happen. So the oral tradition is one of the elements that enrich this text. Please do not come here saying that all the text is divine revelation, because it is not. It is what was being collected of the oral tradition of the peoples, the generations. Said this, we have to understand a bit more, because the first chapters of this book are chapters that do not have uniformity, are not uniform, but are amorphous. Because it begins with one thing, it continues with other thing, and it ends with another thing. And sometimes there are particular declarations that have nothing to do with the development of the events that supposedly are registering. I hope that we are clear in this, because it's fundamental to be clear. If not, we will astray, we will lose ourselves, and that is not correct. So definitely, the second delivery is to place ourselves in a fundamentally basic context, and is that the book of Genesis, or the book of chaos as we call it, is a book formed in great part by the oral tradition. Another part is the redaction by hand of the events that were given throughout history. But do not make it as you do, that it is perfect, because the text is not perfect. Remember, the principle that the church teaches, the last church, and is that only God is perfect. The perfection is only enjoyed by the sovereign, only his family. Everyone else downwards, we are imperfect. Human beings commit mistakes, we fail, and that is why we depend upon God, because God is perfect. Having this in mind, I invite you to always write us to report our transmission and enter the webpage churchofgod.tk. There you can look our materials, our teachings, our podcasts. There you have a series of resources. You can hear our radio. You can share your questions, doubts, concerns, and we will gladly address and answer them. Please do not stop writing us. Do not stop visiting our webpage, churchofgod.tk. You can visit also our page in Facebook, our page in Instagram. You can follow us in Twitter. Also, we ask you to give yourselves an opportunity to try to comprehend what we are trying to share, to question it, and above all, to not forget